To begin with new details on the mass shooting at NAS Pensacola and our continuing coverage of Friday's shooting, we have a message from Ryan Blackwell tonight, who is still recovering in the hospital after being shot. We also have Florida's First Lady Casey DeSantis honoring the 3 sailors who died as flags fly at half-staff in their honor. Finally, we want to show you how a tribute at the Graffiti Bridge has already changed. At this point, do you know anything about the investigation further?
Well, I could tell you that we've got, local, state, and federal assets all at play.
For our interview with Captain Kinsella, we were allowed 5 questions we had to submit before our interview. The Navy making it very clear he would not answer questions surrounding the investigation into the mass shooting. Let's get right to our top story. 2 people are dead, found inside a vehicle submerged underwater near a boat ramp at Liza Jackson Park in Fort Walton Beach. Our Jamarla Phillips is at the scene. He joins us live now with what we're learning from investigators tonight.
You're watching Northwest Florida's news station. This is WEAR, Channel 3 News at 10 in high definition.
What you just heard there was gunshots at a minor league football game in Century. Good evening, I'm Nylander. That incident happened last night at the Anthony Pleasant Park located on East Highway 4 as the game between the TC Venom and Greater Pensacola Jets ended. Our time now is 6:32. We're almost there. It's Friday. Lots of fun events going on this weekend. So what's the weather looking like for everyone?
You know what? Let's go ahead and set up your weekend.
And speaking of time, it's time to turn back time for most of the country. This morning at 2 a.m. Eastern is when daylight saving time ended. Arizona and Hawaii, though, of course, did not participate in the changing of the clocks. Just look at the images here. Much of these cars completely melted away after the intense heat of this fire. It was July 20th, and several people from our area tell me that they are still facing a hardship from this and want answers. We've been following this Channel 3 investigation now for 2 years. Tonight we have our hands on these new documents saying the sheriff not only knew about this, but was actually involved. I asked the tough questions, and this is what the sheriff had to say. Sue, in today's world, cameras are everywhere, from your cell phone to just about any business and at your front door. For police, knowing where those cameras are can help with many investigations. Bob, we continue to be getting hammered by these large wind gusts. Luckily, the rain has started to clear up after being relentless throughout the day, but that wind has taken its toll on a lot of trees here in the heart of Charleston. We can show you one here right now. What looks like just a row of bushes over there. That's a tree that toppled over the side of a fence over there. Power, another major concern. More than 200,000 people lost power across the state. But some good news, it seems the cavalry is on the way. As we were on the interstate coming here today, I saw dozens of linemen headed this way. For the sheriff and the angle of this coming out as some sort of witchcraft murder, that really scared people and I think shocked people. It was clearly a sadistic killing. How could somebody do this? How could a human being do a crime like this? To say about how your dog died? How do you explain how your dog ended up in a dumpster? Please explain to us what happened to your dog.
It's time, Chorus. What do you know?
Yeah, well, a lot of information we've just received, Angelique. I just got off the phone with the head of the Tucson DEA field office out here. He has several agents here on the scene working right now on part of what he described as a very large-scale investigation, a bust going on at multiple locations. With just the touch of a button, a homeowner could be practically anywhere and see who is at their door and what they're doing, and that could help timing for law enforcement. Still a very active scene out here. We continue to see more and more investigators arriving on the scene, combing over evidence here, multiple evidence markers leading up to the doorway of the home here in the corner, which seems to be the focus of this investigation. Just another sign of the constant violence we've been seeing as of late, such as yesterday we showed you that press conference from Escambia County Sheriff David Morgan, who at that point confirmed things are even as serious as contract killings, bounties put on people's heads, lives with price tags.
Today, Christopher Schultes was arraigned after a grand jury indicted him last week and then upgraded the charges. News 4 Tucson's chief investigative reporter, Nylander, was there and questioned him as he left the court. He joins us now live outside the Pima County Superior Courthouse. And what did he have to say or not say, Chorus?
Yeah, he really had nothing to say. Christopher Schultes was able to walk himself into court today with his attorney by his side. He was able to walk himself right out of court without any attempt from prosecutors to amend his conditions of release after that grand jury indicted him last week, upgrading his charges now to first-degree murder and child abuse.
I request that you enter a plea of not guilty as to both counts. I have reviewed my client's rights with him.
Christopher Schultes is pleading not guilty to the charges of first-degree murder and child abuse after his 2-year-old daughter died after being left in a hot car for 3 hours last month, according to investigators. Schultes was initially charged with second-degree murder and was released from jail without having to pay any bond last month. Investigators have uncovered evidence detailed in this complaint obtained by News 4 Tucson, showing that it wasn't his first time leaving his kids in the car. After the case was presented to a grand jury last week, he was indicted on the enhanced charge of first-degree murder. During Thursday's arraignment, prosecutors made no attempts to change the conditions of his release with the higher charges. Noticeably absent in court was Schultes' wife Erica, who previously appeared and urged the judge to free her husband.
This was a big mistake, and I think that this doesn't represent him. And I just want the girls to see their father so that I don't have to tell them tonight that they're going to endure another loss.
Were you shocked that they raised the charges of first-degree murder? Do you feel that accurately conveys what happened? I confronted Schultes as he left the courthouse. He had nothing to say as I questioned him about statements made exclusively to News 4 Tucson from his 16-year-old daughter that she was left in the car many times since she was as young as 7. I also asked him about the text messages from his wife stating she's asked him repeatedly to stop leaving their children inside of the car. What were all the text messages with your wife about? It seems she's told you to not leave kids in the car before. Anything you have to say to that? His attorney also made no comments. Is it shocking that Schultes remains out of custody with such significant charges against him? Not quite, according to experienced Pima County criminal attorney Louis Fidel.
It's certainly not unheard of, and it's a decision that each individual judge makes based on the totality of circumstances in that particular case.
He says a judge's main determining factors will be based on the likelihood they'll return to court or are a danger to the community, and also will consider the impact to the defendant's family, like Schultes' wife and other children.
It's a very serious thing to hold someone in jail who has not been convicted of a crime.
And the Pima County Attorney's Office did request a $1 million bond during his initial appearance last month. It was the judge that ignored that request. I reached out to the Pima County Attorney's Office tonight to see why they didn't make any attempt to try and change his conditions of release with these new charges. They sent me a statement reading, quote, "This case is another reminder to the public that we are not allowed to comment on pending prosecutions in our office. We work hard to ensure that every case is handled in a fair and just way." And we're going to keep you updated as this case continues. His next court appearance was scheduled later in September. We're live from the Pima County Superior Courthouse tonight. Chorus Nylander, News 4 Tucson.
Supporters of former President Donald Trump that were allowed to sit behind his stage at his Tucson rally last week tell the News 4 Tucson investigators they left with mysterious injuries to their eyes. News 4 Tucson's chief investigative reporter Chorus Nylander is live outside the Tucson Music Hall downtown. Chorus, what are we learning about their situation?
Yeah, well, Monica, this is where thousands of people came out to hear former President Donald Trump speak last week. There was a group of 48 people allowed to sit on stage behind Trump throughout the event. They were split into two groups on each side of the stage. One side seemed to walk away without any issues, but multiple people seated near each other on the other side tell me that they had to go to the emergency room after they left the event. Here tonight, for the first time, the Trump campaign is confirming that they're investigating this situation.
No taxes on Social Security benefits for our seniors.
More than 2,000 people filled up the Tucson Music Hall Thursday to hear Donald Trump's first speech in Tucson this campaign as Election Day nears. Some of his biggest supporters were allowed to sit behind him on stage, supporters like Myra Rodriguez, a former director of Planned Parenthood with a notable shift to being pro-life. In 2016, she sat behind presidential candidate Hillary Clinton on stage at an event. Now she supports Donald Trump. She enjoyed the rally, but once she left, everything changed.
As soon as we left and I stepped outside, I started feeling like my eyes were burning.
At first, she thought it might be allergies. She lives near Phoenix. By the time she got home, it was so bad she decided to go to the emergency room.
The emergency room staff keeps saying, from the triage nurse to the PA, and are you sure you don't get spray anything? Your symptoms look like you were sprayed something.
The News 4 Tucson investigators spoke to her the morning after the rally, Friday last week. That morning, she was nearly blind.
I can't see anything. When I try to open my eyes, it's like a white cloud covered. It hurts. It hurts a lot to open my eyes. I have this cold cloth that I put on and I take off all the time. But this is horrible.
She says the doctors weren't able to determine what exactly caused it. Her initial thought of allergies went out the window when she heard from several others seated next to her at the rally that also ended up seeking medical attention with the same symptoms.
Kept getting worse and worse. My eyes started watering a lot. My nose started running. Then I started feeling my face get really flushed, and then my neck felt like it was on fire. And it just progressed from there.
This Tucson woman, who doesn't want to be identified, was seated in the same area behind Trump with her brother. Both walked away with eye injuries and sought medical attention.
I was all focused on my eyes. I mean, my eyes were red like hell, I mean, it's like, it's just like unbearable. You just couldn't, I couldn't handle it. I just couldn't handle it.
Whatever caused it seems to be isolated to the group seated on stage right. Former Congressional District 6 candidate Kathleen Wynne was seated on the opposite side of the stage and says she and everyone she knows seated near her walked away without any issues.
We hope that there's no nefarious actors in this and that this is not a strategic hit for those that are supporting Donald Trump.
Myra reported her injuries to the Trump campaign and says she was told it was being investigated. Myra feels it's crucial for people to be made aware of what happened and what could have caused her injuries.
Obviously, what I would like is an investigation, right? That this does not get away with it.
I want to be very clear. We do not know at this point if a person caused any of this or what exactly the cause could be. We can only speculate at this point, but that apparently is what the Trump campaign is trying to get to the bottom to at this point. Less than an hour ago, the Trump campaign senior advisor Danielle Alvarez sent us a statement reading, quote, "The Trump campaign has been collecting information. We remain committed to the countless patriots that attend our high-energy, high-impact rallies across the country." I did also speak with the United States Secret Service. They tell me they were not informed of any of this and only learned about it when I called them, but they said there was no known threat to President Trump during his event here in Tucson last week. We'll update you as we get more information on this situation. We're live from downtown Tucson tonight. Chorus Nylander, News 4 Tucson.
Yes, it's one of the largest betrayals of public trust in Santa Cruz County history and is now nearing a conclusion.
The former Santa Cruz County treasurer charged with 3 felonies after allegedly stealing nearly $40 million taxpayer dollars has admitted to it all, accepting a plea from prosecutors this morning.
News 4 Tucson's chief investigative reporter Chorus Nylander has been covering this case from the very beginning and was in that courtroom earlier today, and he joins us live just outside of the federal courthouse here in Tucson with more. Chorus.
Angelique, it took around 8 months for this criminal investigation to lead to charges. It only took a couple of days for Elizabeth Gutfar to accept a plea agreement. Line by line, she and the federal judge went through all the accusations against her brought by prosecutors. She admitted everything. Ms. Gutfar, anything you'd like to say about your guilty plea? Anything you'd like to say to the residents of Santa Cruz County? Disgraced former Santa Cruz County Treasurer Elizabeth Gutfar had nothing to say Thursday morning after pleading guilty to embezzlement, money laundering, and tax evasion in federal court. Gutfar admitted to stealing over $38 million from taxpayers while serving as treasurer over the course of a decade, buying luxurious real estate, cars, and various items for personal gain, with 187 illegitimate wire transfers, using her own companies to launder the money. She admitted to using a subordinate's token to get around the 2-step authentication requirements within the county and presented falsified financial reports. Gutfar's attorney, Joshua Hamilton, sent us a statement saying, quote, Liz Gutfar wants to take responsibility for the harm she has caused to Santa Cruz County. She knows that by pleading guilty and accepting the punishment she will face as a result, she is taking a step in the right direction to be accountable for her actions. Today was just a step, albeit a major one, along the road to redemption, and she will work to remain on that path for the rest of her life. Her actions sent a rift of mistrust across Santa Cruz County government.
The supervisors should have known their responsibilities, should have watched that money and did audits on the treasurer's office. They did nothing.
The 2024 general election saw longtime county leaders like Supervisor Chairman Manny Ruiz voted out. He was in court, grateful to finally hear an admission of guilt.
Well, I'm feeling great. I mean, it kind of exonerates the board. I know that we do everything that we can to protect the integrity of the funds of our community, and she, as the bank of the county, really let the citizens down.
And Gutfar remains out of custody, now awaiting her sentencing date, which has been scheduled for February 6th. As part of this plea agreement, she received no special agreements in terms of saving her any jail time. She could still face the maximum sentence, which with all the charges collectively, she could face over 35 years in prison, as well as some hefty fines and restitution. I imagine her guilty plea will be taken into consideration. All of that is going to be up to the sentencing judge come February 6th. We're live outside the federal courthouse in downtown Tucson. Of course, Nylander, News 4 Tucson.